In a small village nestled among rolling fields, a wealthy landlord held sway over the land. His reputation for greed spread far as he squeezed the poor farmers who worked his fields, demanding harsh terms for leasing his land. He claimed the lion's share of their harvests, leaving them with barely enough to survive. His heart seemed carved from stone, unmoved by the struggles of those who toiled under his rule. One season, a struggling farmer approached the landlord, desperate to rent a plot of land to feed his family. With no other options, he agreed to the landlord's terms. Half of the harvest would go to the landlord. The farmer poured his strength into the soil, laboring from dawn to dusk. His efforts bore fruit, and the fields flourished with golden crops. Yet, when the time came to divide the yield, the landlord swept in, taking the finest portions and leaving the farmer with the meager remnants. The farmer returned home, his face heavy with sorrow, his hands empty despite his toil. The farmer's son, a young man with a sharp mind and a keen sense of justice, noticed his father's despair. Sitting by the hearth, the farmer shared the tale of his labor and the landlord's greed. The son listened intently, his thoughts already weaving a plan. He resolved to face the landlord himself, not with anger, but with cunning. The following year, the son approached the landlord to lease a plot of land. He proposed a new deal. The landlord would claim everything below the ground, while the son would take what grew above it. The landlord, confident in his own cleverness, agreed, seeing no risk in the arrangement. The son chose to plant wheat that season. He tended the fields with care, and when harvest time arrived, the golden stalks stood tall. True to the agreement, the son gathered the valuable grain above the ground, leaving only the roots beneath for the landlord. When the landlord arrived, expecting a bountiful share, he found nothing but tangled, worthless roots. His face darkened with fury, but the agreement was binding. Determined to outsmart the young man, the landlord proposed a new deal for the next season. This time he would take everything above the ground, while the son could have what lay below. The son nodded in agreement, his expression calm. That year he planted potatoes. He nurtured the crop with the same diligence, and when the harvest came, the landlord eagerly claimed the leafy tops above the soil. But the true treasure, the hearty potatoes, lay buried beneath, belonging entirely to the son. The landlord, left with nothing but wilted leaves, felt his anger boil over, but again he could not dispute the terms. The landlord, now consumed by a need to triumph, devised what he believed was a foolproof plan. For the next season, he declared he would take both what grew above and below the ground, leaving the son only what lay in between. The son, unfazed, accepted the terms with a quiet smile. This time he planted sugarcane. He tended the tall stalks with precision, and when the harvest arrived, he carefully cut the juicy, valuable middle sections, leaving the leafy tops and fibrous roots for the landlord. Once again, the landlord stood amidst his useless share, his pride crumbling under the weight of his own greed. Defeated, the landlord faced the young man, his bluster gone. The son, standing tall, spoke of fairness. He explained that the farmers, who poured their lives into the land, deserved respect and just treatment, for they were the ones who created the wealth. His words carried no malice, only truth, and they pierced the landlord's hardened heart. For the first time, the landlord saw the cost of his greed, not just to the farmers, but to the village itself, which languished under his heavy hand. A change stirred within the landlord. He began to see the wisdom in the young man's actions, not just in outwitting him, but in showing a path to a better way. He announced new terms. The farmers could lease his land at fair prices, and he would pay honest wages for their labor. The village, once stifled by his greed, began to thrive. Fields bloomed with abundance, and the farmers worked with renewed hope, their burdens lightened. The son, now a figure of respect, was admired not only for his cleverness, but for his courage in standing for what was right. His actions had reshaped the village, restoring dignity to those who worked the land. The village transformed into a place of shared prosperity. Laughter filled the air where once there had been sighs of exhaustion. The farmers no longer bent under the weight of unfair demands, and their families flourished. The landlord, once feared, became a figure of reform, his change a testament to the power of a single determined mind. The son's legacy was not in wealth or power, but in the respect he earned and the justice he restored. Through his ingenuity, the son had shown that intelligence and persistence could overcome even the most entrenched injustice. His creative approach turned the landlord's own rules against him, not for personal gain, but to uplift an entire community. The lesson was clear. True strength lies not in domination, but in the ability to think differently, to challenge unfair systems with wisdom and resolve. Power, no matter how great, could be undone by a mind that refused to bend to greed. The son's triumph was a reminder that justice, when pursued with clarity and courage, could build a lasting foundation for success, not just for one, but for all. The village stood as a living testament to this truth, its fields a symbol of what could be achieved when ingenuity and fairness prevailed. The son's story spread, not as a tale of victory over one man, but as a beacon of hope for those facing their own struggles. It taught that the path to change often begins with a single clever step, taken with a heart set on justice.